Do you feel like it was more work to stay fit in your 30s? How has your body been responding to working out between those times of your life? What was your mentality behind getting in shape more in your 30s? Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to share your progress and your experiences with this. You guys rock. Story 1. Started lifting weights for the first time in my life at 35, and you know what it took? A couple of buddies to push me into working out with them. Having accountable workout buddies is the easiest way to get motivated and stay motivated because you aren't just relying on your own motivation to do it. Been going strong for 2 years now. Story 2. I've been overweight most of my life. I started to get in shape a few months before turning 30. I had already been going to the gym for about a year, lifting and running, and noticed some muscle gain, but still very overweight. When I made a change in nutrition, I realized what it took to burn the fat and keep it off. Exercise will help, but not to the extent that proper eating will. Having sufficient rest is also key. Your body needs that extra recovery time. In your 30s, you may have more responsibilities, so workouts may need to be more planned ahead of schedule. If I do one thing today, I can do another tomorrow, and so on. My body has never looked or felt better. The hardest thing for me has been and still is making sure I'm eating correctly consistently. Working out is no problem, I have the discipline for that. Story 3. I started running when I was in my late 40s because I was having trouble bending and moving freely. I progressed up to marathons in my 50s and then triathlons in my 60s. I feel better now than I did in my 40s. Everything works better when you're in shape. Story 4. It takes working out and watching your diet even at 55. Work out with intensity, whatever that is for you, and consistency, and you will get in shape no matter your age. Story 5. I stopped drinking so much and the pounds just fell off. Then I started exercising and the muscles came. I had kids, so I started eating healthier. I have never been in better shape than at 37. Story 6. Exercise and diet, that's all. I was 29 when I finally started to do something about my rising weight gain. I'm 5 feet 7 inches and went from 200 pounds to 155 fairly quickly. I called it the stop stuffing your face diet. No fast food. No soda. No snacking between meals. Exercise 3 times a week for 30 minutes. Once I started losing weight, I was motivated to keep going. Exercise 3 times a week quickly turned into 4, then 5, then 6. No fast food turned into counting calories. My lightest since high school was a couple of years ago when I was 147. Story 7. 20s felt like figuring out my body. 30s felt like figuring out my mind. 40s feel like I've finally figured out the controls and now I can play. I'm in better shape now than as a 20-year-old Olympic hopeful. Biggest breakthrough for me? A dedicated stretching routine. I don't mean passive warm-up stretching. I don't mean going to yoga once a week. I mean a dedicated routine that extends your flexibility and engages your strength in that increased range. Yoga is really good for this, but you have to buy into the whole thing. Old man strength is absolutely a thing, and it's glorious as you get older. But if you want it, you have to start working on it when you're young. Story 8. I'm 33 and I'm in the best shape of my life. I was always kind of a homebody in high school and college, had no idea what I was doing in terms of diet, was entirely disinterested in exercise, and I was just a sloppy mess in general. It wasn't until I was about 29 that I started focusing on my health. I was nearing 30 and was at the heaviest weight of my life and trending disastrously. I started cooking healthier meals, tracking the things I was eating, and really investing in exercise and sports. I really wish I had started sooner since I've already seen results and can only imagine how much better I would look if I had started at 19 rather than 29. I don't recover from workouts as fast as I probably would have in my 20s, but otherwise, the soreness is worth it for the general sense of feeling better. It's certainly more work compared to before, since I was doing nothing, but it's worth it. I used to have to push myself to exercise, and now I feel wrong if I don't get my workout in. Story 9. Better emotional health and figuring out what diet works best for me. I don't think it was any more work. I just learned to work a lot smarter. In my 20s, I would put in twice the effort and get half as far in most things. In my 30s, I've gotten much better at picking my battles and really figuring out what works for me. I suppose most people would call this growing up. Story 10. I got in the best shape of my life when I hit 40. It took committing to something and sticking with it. I used Power 90 Extreme. I did it every day for 10 years and had a six-pack all through my 40s until I injured my back. Now, at 51, I'm starting to get back in awesome shape. Story 11. Honestly, what works in your 20s will work in your 30s. Good eating habits, full of foods with short lists of ingredients, most of the time. Limit alcohol intake. Exercise 3 to 4 times a week. Sleep 7 to 9, closer to 9 hours a night. Stay active throughout the day. Walking, stretching, etc. Your biggest limiting factor will be your recovery. Your total work might have to be spread out throughout the week instead of in one day. Total body workouts will be your best friend. Story 12. When I was 35, I lost 50 pounds, or 22 kilograms, in 4 months. It was an extreme change in mentality where I used a calorie tracker application and followed it religiously no matter what. The change in mentality came because I started to feel diabetic symptoms, was tired all the time, and had self-esteem issues due to my weight. The application definitely was the key to my discipline. A lot of exercise was required for the rapid weight loss of 1 kilogram every week. I don't use the application anymore, but I kept the weight off just by learning what habits caused my weight. I can say in my experience, it's 100% sugar and alcohol that caused me to be overweight. These days I barely exercise, but I maintain my weight by controlling my consumption of sugar and alcohol. Story 13. My biological grandfathers were dead before I was born, and my biological father died before my daughter was born. So, when my daughter was born, I started really thinking about my chances of living long enough to see grandchildren if I remained overweight. I've been health obsessed since then and haven't looked back. Story 14. I'll just say this. It takes the same things as in your 20s but more of it. It's harder to build up muscle and reduce fat, you exhaust faster, and your metabolism isn't there like it was before. It's the same, just a bit harder. Story 15. I waited until my 40s. It took a couple of suicide attempts, psychiatric hospitalizations, psychiatric medications literally killing me and losing almost all my friends before I started caring enough about myself to lose weight, eat better, and start exercising. I started running occasionally in the summer of 2014. Despite semi-regular exercise, I was still gaining weight, partly from psychiatric medications. Most have the side effect of weight gain, and eating poor quality food. In late 2017, I crashed and burned, and the doctor's answer was more and more psychiatric medications. I decided to stop the medications and take running and my health more seriously. I reduced my weight from at least 275 pounds into the 190s. Now I am between 200 and 210 pounds, but have the same waist size I had at 190. At 52, I can put in the mileage and keep up with most runners half my age. Story 16. When I work hard, my body responds, even in my 30s. I know my hormones are in excellent shape, so my body responds well to training as long as my nutrition and sleep are good too. Story 17. I progressively got in worse shape as I closed out my 20s. Got separated and then divorced at 29 to 30. Started drinking more and eating worse. Put on about 20 pounds, weighing close to 260. Started dating again and lost maybe 10 pounds. Over the next few years, I started eating more and drinking more sodas and energy drinks. I also became a semi-regular pack-a-day smoker due to stress. I avoided my scale for about 2 years. One day in July of 2019, I got curious and hopped on the scale. When I saw 287, I was ashamed, embarrassed, and terrified. I coach high school wrestling and knew I wasn't setting a good example for the kids on my team. I immediately started walking my dog every day, cut out sodas in August, and cut out energy drinks in September. After a few months, I was down to 260. I tried to start the Insanity cardio program, but I could feel I was too heavy for my knees to support it. I became single again, but knew I couldn't let that break me this time. I kept walking the dog and started doing intermittent fasting. I got down to 240 by December and started practicing hard with my advanced wrestlers. I eventually started Insanity again, and by March of 2020, I was 214. I was thrilled with the 73 pounds gone. Once the world shut down for us, I was working more and started smoking again. I stopped working out and got back up to 235. I started insanity again and have repeated it a few times. I'm back down to 218. My goal weight is 210, 30 pounds lighter than when I graduated. That's a number I've seen once since I was 15. I weigh myself at least twice a week, and I basically set up a reward system for myself. If I want a new tattoo or a new gun, or something that costs a bit of money, I tell myself I can't get it until after I finish my current cycle of insanity, 9 weeks. My buddies and I are hoping to do a Tough Mudder this year, and I already bought the ticket, so I need to stay in shape. As a bonus, as a single guy, I'm getting attention from women I never would have thought would be an option. My mental health is better, the dog is happier with the walks, and my house is cleaner since I'm not depressed and living in my own filth. Overall, I'm in the best shape physically and mentally that I've been in the past 15 years. I'm still working way too much, but that's unrelated. Story 18. My 30s were when I got my binge eating under control, learned to cook healthy food, and had a friend who invited me to go to the gym to work out together, where I learned a lot about exercise. Story 19. I figured out 2 things. 1, beer is way better in moderation. And 2, I separated the time of day and when I eat my meals. I started only eating when I was hungry. I graze periodically and when in social situations, but I stopped eating such large portions and stopped eating at noon solely because it was noon. Story 20. It takes stopping pretending you're in your 20s and realizing you're now in your 30s and getting unhealthier. I am 33 and lost about 30 pounds 2 years ago. The pandemic hit and I've put 15 back on. Now I'm back to losing 15 to 20. I work out, walk or run and count my calories. I'm trying to really limit my alcohol on weekends, hoping to see the pounds come off here soon. Story 21. I was tired of being undisciplined in all of my life. So, I went on a binge of books and podcasts to 1. Get more organized. Be better disciplined at work. Work out more. Have diet under control. Have finances under control. Have mental health under control. Once I started, it just turned into a lifestyle. Story 22. Quit drinking. Eat healthy. Eat less, way less. You'd be surprised at how many calories stack up. Do cardio 3 times per week for about 30 minutes each if running, 1 hour if biking. On the other 3 days, do a 15-minute kettlebell routine and a 15-minute stretching. 1 rest day. It really doesn't take much. Most people in their 20s don't feel the impact of what they are doing to their bodies, but it catches up quickly. By the time you hit your 30s, you realize that being in shape actually feels way better. Sleep better, feel better, look better. Life is amazing, so I want to squeeze as much out of it as I can. And now with kids, I want to be there as long as I can. Looking after yourself in your 30s and 40s has a big impact on your life quality in your retirement years. Story 23. I have done both. The biggest difference I have noticed is that in my 20s, all I had to do was work out and I looked great. In my 30s, working out is not enough. I also have to watch my diet and exercise to look good. Story 24. My advice is to do it while you are young. I'm 56, and it is much harder now that I'm older. I have been going to the gym for 3 straight years. I lost 30 pounds and gained much more muscle, with body fat down to 16% from 25%. But it is hard work in your 50s with a slower metabolism. Story 25. Yes. For a variety of reasons, I became very overweight after college. I finally figured out what I needed to do to change around the age of 29 or 30. I've since lost 115 pounds and kept it off for about 5 years. It took a change of mindset about food and consistent exercise. Story 26. I didn't know much about diet, and I spent my youth running around being nuts. I started paying attention to what I eat after trying to figure out a medical issue which was unrelated, and then I had enough routine and space of my own to work out and fit in the exercise. I find doing core exercises does a lot for my back and keeps me feeling solid. Story 27. I'm a subscriber of the Stop Stuffing Your Face You Fat Fool diet. I thought I had invented it. I came from a very low place in my life, lost 24 kilos and my ex-husband as well. But now I try to not yell at myself anymore and be a bit kinder. It's okay to gain weight during a pandemic, but I'm not here to have a perfect body. I just want to exercise to feel good. If I feel good, I make better decisions. It's a positive cycle. Story 28. It's about lifestyle changes. Find ways to be more physically active and learn how to cook healthy food. I go to the grocery store a couple of times a week now instead of making one big trip. I live within biking distance of a grocery store. I ride my bike 4 miles to work. It used to be 8, but I moved closer, a few times a week. Just build activity into your daily living. For food, keep your freezer stocked with vegetables and some frozen meat. Build your meals around protein and vegetables. Fruits are healthy too. I add mushrooms, spinach, and broccoli to my eggs in the morning. It helps with eating enough vegetables. You can add meat and vegetables to something like instant ramen noodles. Not the healthiest choice, but you get the point. I focused on developing one healthy habit at a time. I renovated my breakfast choices, then lunch, then something else. When I try to change everything at once, nothing sticks. Story 29. I did, but mostly because of experience, knowing my body better, and drinking less than during university times. Also, more cardio besides weightlifting. Story 30. I didn't start exercising until my 40s. My kid started taking karate, so I started with him. Then I ended up being an instructor, doing the cardio classes in between and all that. In my 20s, I was in decent shape, not fat, not muscular. In my 30s, I started to put on weight, but it didn't really bother me much. In my 40s, when I started exercising, I felt so much better. Less back pain, more energy. I'm in better shape now than I was in my 30s for sure. It's harder the older you get, but you have to just keep doing it.